Welcome back to Uplink. I'm Andrew Hamilton. That's Royden and Andrew, and this is the only place on the internet where you can find out about video game news a little bit after
as it happens. Shut up.
Yeah, it's happening right now.
Right now.
And happening right now. There's a lot. Like it's almost like we've been gone for 2 weeks, which we obviously haven't. Don't look at the last video.
It's Schrodinger's video game.
Yeah.
It's always happening and it's always not happening.
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Mm-hmm. That is a video game.
It is. Do you know Nobody, Nothing, Nowhere is not a sequel to Everything, Everywhere, All at Once?
No, I didn't know that.
It's a movie that's happening with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Anyway, we got a lot to talk about, so let's go ahead and hop right into it. We'll talk about the big Xbox conference that happened not too long ago, a developer direct, as they called it, because everyone's just going to rip off Nintendo's thing. So we've got a better look at Forza Motorsport 7. Looks phenomenal. Real-time ray tracing looks great. It's going to be a good racing game. All the racing people are going to like it. All the racists out there are going to... All the people that like cars are going to like it.
What a Freudian slip.
No, that was an intentional joke. But yeah, let's say Freudian slip. That works better.
Sure.
Yeah, so it looks really, really good. I'm not big into the motorsport part of Forza. I like the Horizon series a lot better because it's a little more arcadey, but
yeah.
For those of you that like a good driving sim, I mean, you can't go wrong with the Forza Motorsport series.
And they're making it into a movie.
Yeah, right.
As we've talked about.
No, that's Gran Turismo, but it's the same thing.
You know what?
It's kind of the same thing, isn't it? I apologize for the way I sound. I was sick, and my voice is just never going to recover. And here's our...
And I just look like this.
It was a Roydian slip, says Alex.
Yeah.
But
boo.
Boo. All right. So
this is off to a hot start.
Yeah, I'm going. It's clearly I'm not rusty or anything, you know. So we got to look at Forza. We got to look at the upcoming vampire slaying single player / co-op game Redfall that is coming from Bethesda. That'll be out in May, on May 12th. Fun fact: it'll also always require an online connection, no matter what. Why? I don't know, but Bethesda's decided that's the path they want to go down. So even if you're playing solo, you cannot play offline. You need a connection the whole time. That sucks. Stop doing that.
Sometimes my internet goes out.
Yeah, or some people don't have fast enough internet. Sometimes you just want to be able to play by yourself for a little bit, you know? Like, stop making everything so connected all the time. Like, the internet is not good enough here for what you're trying to do.
And in most places, if we were actually being honest with ourselves.
I mean, just read the room, dude.
Although Redfall kind of looks cool.
Yeah, it does. I like the mix of kind of Arcane Studios powers mixed with the Left 4 Dead kind of zombie situation, but vampires. It looks really good. Vampires.
What else?
And then we got a surprise release from one of my favorite horror video game makers, who released the definitely not a horror game. Hi-Fi Rush, Tango Gameworks did a surprise launch day and day of the Direct. They just dropped it onto Xbox Game Pass for free. It is a rhythm-based brawler, third-person platformer. Everything matches the music. So your hits, your movement, the enemies, everything. It's actually really, really good.
It's Parappa the Rappa?
Yeah, but better.
Oh.
Honestly, it is. After kind of a really serious dry spell of games, it's good to see Xbox coming out of the gate with some, bigger things. Allegedly, we'll hear more about the
Stardew Valley.
Yes, Starfield release date soon. That was not.
Are you
present.
sure?
I mean, that's what they said. But I tried to tell you guys before you got all hyped up in the last episode. I tried to tell you guys not to.
But you said it's not coming out. Yeah, it's not coming out until way later in the year.
The back half of the year, if we're lucky. I think they're being overly optimistic about how done it is. And much like them, I think maybe Respawn and EA were being a little overconfident in how done Jedi Survivor is if the delay to April 28th was any indicator. Just a 6-week delay, not a huge one, so nothing to really, cry about. But it is interesting that so close to the launch, they decided to delay it. I'm guessing that means they probably found something during final processing that was problematic.
Whoops, the climbing doesn't work.
Uh-oh, lightsabers only go inside.
I'm not super worried about it. But we've always said that games aren't out until they actually come out.
Yeah, everything's delayed.
Everything's delayed until it isn't.
Yep. Once you're playing it, that's not a delayed game anymore.
Exactly. Well, even still.
Yeah, and then
sometimes they'll still add stuff. I would rather them delay games, and we've talked about this at nauseum, but like I would rather them delay games in perpetuity, inevitably, until the game is finished, instead of, and sometimes you just need patch it, but instead of having like, oh, day one we're gonna upload a 300 megabit patch. You're like, oh god,
it's like a dual-sided sword, or like a double-edged blade. Like patches are such a weird thing because people think that a game is broken if it has a day one patch. But like those patches can be for a lot of things. They can be to enable the right to play the game. They can, a lot of times, a day one patch just fixes stuff that was caught after mass production.
Yeah, but not for nothing. Like when I think patches, I think like the last Assassin's Creed that came out.
Fair, but also, like imagine a time, if you will, prior to the internet and connectivity.
Oh, brother,
when games
if
that
only.
were broken just got released and then they just stayed broken.
That is
if
okay.
If you wanted a different version of the game, you had to either pay to ship it off and get it replaced, or go buy the game again. There are literally people who sell version copies of old games that before the newer version was released a year later or whatever.
Devil's advocate, fair. That is fair.
Yeah.
I would much rather get a game that is all the way, and that rarely happens, but I would much rather get a game that like works completely day and date. But I understand like why you wouldn't be able to do that. But the ability, the ability to patch things in real time.
Yeah.
It's
nice, but hey, developers and publishers and big wig CEO carrying a cartoonishly large bag of money, that doesn't mean that you need to put the game out before it's done because you can fix it later.
Cyberpunk.
That's not how it works, really. And when you do that, you hurt your brand and you hurt your employees, and you can't move on to the next project because you're stuck fixing the one that you didn't take the time to work on in the first place.
Did I tell you I started playing Fallen Order?
No.
Yeah, it was free to download on PlayStation.
Yeah, still is till next Tuesday.
Yeah, it was the free month game of the month. It's fine. Like it's is.
Good. The bar to be a good Star Wars game has been very low for a long time.
Yeah, and so it is what it like.
It picks up in the back half.
See, I'm very, very, very minimally into it, but like I was just kind of like lost a couple of times, or not like lost in the gameplay, but just like this isn't moving smoothly at all. And
yeah, it's weird because for a lot of people, we talked about this a little bit earlier, like this week when we were talking about reviewers and how you can get kind of stuck into something so much that you are reviewing something or looking at something from a perspective of someone who's done this a billion times, and so you're looking for something new. I think that's kind of what happened with the navigation system here, is that they were like, every game tells you exactly where to go. What if we told you almost nothing about where to go?
Right.
Wouldn't that be innovative and fun? Well, yeah, for people who like exploration and stuff, that's a lot of fun.
But it's not really like an exploration.
But for someone who
game.
comes to the game fresh, we sent our good friend Robbie there shortly after he got his PlayStation, and he was confused as to where to go. And we went the wrong way for an hour and a half, and then turned the game off because he got pissed off that he was going the wrong way for an hour and a half. I get it. Like it's you're trying to innovate, but you also got to think, hey, what is the average person gonna do here? Yeah. So I think that it does get better in the back half whenever you get more tools. But hey, better than a canceled game,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm
Avengers.
interested to see if they improve on it at all in this next game. It's like we get so caught up on like if games should be, they should always be 10 out of 10s that sometimes like you said, like an 8 out of 10 is like disappointing or whatever.
Give me 8
It's
out
like-
of 10s. If I could get
It's just like it's like an 8 out of 10,
10s, like that's
8
a
out of
great
10 game, and we're just this piece of garbage, and it's just like
There's a reason I chose the word excellent as our number 8 descriptor. Like it's when I give something an 8, it's not a bad game. It's a very good game. It's just not perfect.
Now here's the thing though. These are canon, right?
Yeah. Yes, they
They're
are.
very interesting.
Yeah.
If you're a Star Wars nerd, but like
Yeah.
these being canon is very.
That's
I'd say it's cool. Like
Yeah, it's the most exciting thing about this next game is that
Yeah.
they look to be really like this game, in terms of like where it ends, puts the next game on a much larger scale, and there's so much more to work with. And now they've got the High Republic stuff that's been going on in the comics to work with. We've gotten concepts introduced in The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett and the Bad Batch and stuff. Interesting things that can be worked into this. So from a canon standpoint for Star Wars, I think Survivor is probably my most excited
I
prospect.
would place money on it that you will see that actor who played a Gallagher.
Cameron Moynihan?
Yeah, Moynihan. He played a Gallagher in Shameless for like 18 seasons.
Yeah.
But like you will see
He
him.
played the Joker too.
He did play the Joker in.
Fox Gotham show.
Yes, absolutely. And so you'll see him in a live action.
Yeah,
in a live action.
he's kind of teased that he's maybe been approached about it.
100,000%. He's sitting there like, oh, I don't know. Like it is the
I'm
most.
willing to bet that he's already filmed the part with Rosario Dawson for Ahsoka.
You bet that?
I'm
Yeah.
willing to bet that he's already in that show at some level.
It would be a good bet. Like there's not many Jedi left, yada yada yada,
Yeah.
and so he's canon. I just think if you're an actor, obviously, like a lot more people are going to probably see Jedi Fallen Order than like his next project or whatever.
Yeah, this is by far his biggest.
So
thing.
yeah, so why not do the game? But I'm just saying, like he's been in acclaimed things.
Yeah. It's cool, and it's cool to see how passionate he actually is about this too. Because even if he did an interview with Game Informer and IGN a couple weeks ago, where he was talking about the process of making these games, and he like actually learned how things are made and stuff. So he talked about in depth about motion capture, and then how he worked with the animators on getting the motions better, and then he really wanted to go darker and heavier on certain subject matter. So he helped in the writing process. So like he's been all over this game because he really cares, and I think part of that is because he really wants
some
to get
back-end deal.
on screen so that he could cement this character into Star Wars canon even more than it already is.
I think they would be. I think just based on how many people enjoy the games and
Yeah.
like how many people bought the games, this is like a huge selling game.
Yeah.
I think they know what they would have. Like Lucasfilm is not one for wasting IP.
Right.
I would say so.
Yeah. So I hope it's going to be good. You can look forward to the review towards the end of April. So we'll get to it when we get to it, I guess.
What else?
Avengers. Marvel's Avengers.
It's done, folks.
Dead. It's dead in the water. It's gone.
Sad.
Raise your hand if you were playing it. You weren't. Stop one. Put your hand down. You liar.
It's not that it's.
It's not a bad game.
not that it's
just
dead.
not a good game.
It's just that it's in. I don't know.
It's
It's
in
in
limbo.
purgatory.
Well, not even purgatory. It is dead.
Like you can't pray for it to
support
be
for the
taken to
game.
heaven.
Support for. We can't get into the theology of video game heaven.
Okay, so let me tell you about Spyro.
Our Lord and Savior, the Helix fossil. Yeah, so it is dead support-wise. So as of March, the game will no longer be supported. As of May, all cosmetics in the store will be given to all players for free, which is hilarious because
So many people bought that.
one of the skins costs $15. So must suck if you bought all of them to this. I mean, I'm sorry. Hey, microtransactions are bad. Did you guys know? Stay tuned to this channel for that take every week.
Every
forever.
week. Speaking of a game that like just the most 6 out of 10
Yeah.
you could ever.
Real middle ground. And I wanted to love it, you know? I went into it wanting to love it. And
You've been carrying water for that thing, like,
Yeah.
no one that I've ever talked to. Most people are like, it's really, really, it's okay. And you're like, no, it's actually good. And I'm
It's okay. It's okay, but there's a little bit of like the story is good. Like there's a little bit of good, and the gameplay is relatively good, and the movement systems are fine. But like it's all the other.
How many times can you play the same enemy in a fetch quest?
Yeah,
Let's see.
That's the BS. That's the outer shell BS that just it never breaks through to get to anything better than good. And certainly by now it should have been great if it was going to be great, and it's not, so it's dead. And that sucks for those of you who were working on it. I am sorry. For those of you that played it, why? Were you just find this different games? Go find a different one.
Begging Marvel and Lucasfilm to figure it, just not them together conglomerate, but like there is so much potential there, yes, but there's so much synergy within that company for them just to completely poo-poo the video game side.
Yeah.
Like, whoever can make one.
It's insane to me that
We don't give a damn,
Disney has never been able to figure out video games.
So weird.
They for years and forever now they've had this problem where I hope I haven't been covering my mic. I've been crossing my arms. I think I'm
hitting it the entire time.
You know, they've been figuring it out and like hiring studios, and then they shut studios down because they don't hire. Like they want to be hands-on with everything, but it doesn't work when you don't let people do what they're good at, and they're really protective of their brand, so they don't take high-level pitches or fun concepts. Or really, they want like this corporate synergy nonsense to be their go-to.
Which is the weirdest thing that they put out
work.
Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, well, Kingdom Hearts is like tangentially like connected, and it's how they won over the Japanese public, I guess. I don't know, but dude, it's insane to me that they have never been able to figure it out, and the fact that basically Sony is the only one that can make a Marvel game that's worth a damn.
Yeah,
like that's insane.
And we'll continue to. I mean, you got
speaking of
Wolverine,
Sony-
you got Black Panther coming up, but it was like such a. You have, like I said, and they were never going to do it, and we've talked about this at length, but there's such synergy, and people know these characters, to not have the likeness of who brought these characters to life on. I'm not saying you have to have the voices.
Yeah.
But like to not have the
That's
characters.
the other thing we were going to talk about that I forgot that we were going to talk about.
You know, but not having the likeness of the characters, Evans, Downey, so on and so forth, as the people. There was a weird middle ground that I think disconnected with the general public when it came to that game.
Yeah.
So immediately people were like, ew. Like it was like not.
I get that, and I also don't get that because like Guardians of the Galaxy,
how it is.
Guardians of the Galaxy, the game, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Excellent game. They don't look anything like anyone from that show. Maybe I guess Rocket looks like a raccoon, so yeah, it passed. But
Drax looks just enough.
and Drax is close enough if you choose the outfit that is based on the
Mm-hmm.
cinematic costume. I do think that there was a problem with not maybe offering the cinematic outfits immediately, and then charging $20 per cinematic inspired costume was dumb. But I do think that, and to a certain extent, Firaxis, who did Marvel's Midnight Suns, kind of just echoed the sentiment. It's a nightmare to try to marry your stuff that much because games take so much longer to develop than movies, and they take so much more work. You can't just on a whim recast someone in a movie or cast someone in a movie that was going to be revealed in the game, so now you got to go back and redo everything about that character in the game. Like, it's a whole thing. We'll just go ahead and talk about this topic.
I was just saying, like, when it came out, people were like...
Yeah. I mean, this ties in, and then we'll get to the other stuff.
It's just like a stonks meme. You're just like...
Yeah. So James Gunn
just slightly off.
just revealed the new DC plan. And alongside that, we got all the movies. We're not talking about the movies. We're going to talk about the game side, because alongside all of that...
He was lying about the movies, by the way. It was the most blatant lies.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Crazy. And we'll see. We'll see how all that goes.
The Flash is the greatest
Dude, if The Flash is the greatest superhero movie ever made...
We said we weren't going to talk about the movies, but they got a literal war criminal running around out there in tights. And you're just like, this is the best movie ever.
We talked about the weirdness, and this is not to lessen the impact of whatever the accusations and stuff against Justin Roiland are. But you cut ties with Justin Roiland immediately, but you still got Ezra Miller running around in the wild, getting to be the Flash, tied to your best superhero movie ever. What are you talking about?
Lying.
It's just lies.
It's just lying. Anyway.
But yeah, so on the video
games.
game side of thing, so they have said that there will be games that take place outside of the DCU. Those games will be labeled Elseworld titles. That includes things that would fall in line with stories similar to like Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, the Gotham Knights, that kind of stuff. That would all be Elseworlds considered.
Yeah.
But there will also be tie-in games that tie directly into stories told in the DCU, and those characters will be brought to life by the people that played them in the movies. That's going to be real interesting to see you pull off. And speaking of lies, I feel like that's probably going to end up being a lie. Because do you know how complicated that will make everyone who has to sign a deal with DC? Like, you want to be Batman?
Not only do you have to commit 6 months, sometimes a year to film these mega superhero projects.
Now you got to go be part of motion capture, vocal lines.
Yeah.
They need to do 3D scans. You may have to come back and do additional stuff later on because of plot changes or things that change. And then writing a story for a game that fits it. Like Star Wars kind of suffered from this for a while because Battlefront 2 famously had a lot of trouble telling its own story in a way that would be able to be interesting
In canon.
while staying in canon. Like the idea of playing as a defective, or not defective, a defector Empire, previously elite squadron Empire member who joins the Rebels is such a cool concept on paper.
What if they said, okay, tie-in games, but what if they're just bringing back the things that we had in the 2000s where it's just a
Garbage
remake of the
redos.
movie? Where it's just like the
Oh,
Harry
man.
Potter, you know what I mean?
That's the only way you could do it, and it would be possible from a development standpoint.
Where you just take the lines from the
give them
movie.
the screenplay,
Yeah.
and then have the video from the movie.
No. That's what we meant about. It was like we're just bringing you the Batman. You know what I mean?
It's the Batman, the video game,
The video game.
part 1.
Exactly. So what if that's it?
James Gunn, I swear to God, if you bring back direct
Direct tie-in.
tie-in movies, I'm gonna lose my mind.
I think it'd be incredible.
It would be hilarious.
It would be awful, but I think it'd be incredible. We've said this before.
Great
the only,
content for our channel, honestly.
Exactly. the only ones that ever did this well, and we said this, were the Lord of the Rings tie-in games.
Phenomenal.
Those are, if you haven't ever seen, go YouTube
Shout out
those.
to Two Towers and Return of the King.
Incredible.
For being some of the best pick your character open world brawler level nonsense that there is. Just amazing.
Just going through swarms of enemies.
Yeah.
But
Gandalf
so
OP.
they haven't done it well ever, except for those. And I think it would just be really funny to
would be
bring it. Like, we're
hilarious.
pivoting back to 2003.
We've brought Ezra Miller in to the Flash video game. Oh no!
Oh no!
Sometimes he just disappears, and you're like, "Where'd he go?" And then he
he's
comes
committing
back,
a felony.
and there's a felony now, and he's like, "We gotta go. We gotta leave."
We're gonna leave the studio. The one thing that I know about actors is that they like to work. So I think giving them more money to do this stuff could be like a incentive. But I will say they also
You have no idea
like
what
to
you're
do
signing up on.
No, they also like to do different projects.
Yeah.
Where it's like Robert Pattinson isn't gonna want to do. He's doing the Batman because he enjoyed the script of the Batman.
Yeah, he's
so
not
then
gonna
he can
wanna
go
tie
do
in a
his
game
weird
to
Safdie Brothers independent movie.
I don't
and then
think
come
you're getting.
back.
I don't think you're getting people like Ben Affleck or Robert Pattinson to sign on for these massive projects that are also part of a video game universe. And then, if something happens and someone has to drop out, now you've got halfway through development, you've got to go back and scrap that entire project.
Yeah.
Video games cost exponentially more than movies to produce on a one-to-one basis.
Yeah.
That's an insane move. So James Gunn, I don't know why you lied to everyone, but if you pull this off, kudos to you. But you definitely lied.
They are swinging for the fences. I'll give them that much.
I mean, good. Good luck. I guess.
Look, all we've been asking out of DC is to do something.
Yeah, do something that doesn't. Look, give me something different, give me something fun, and give me something good. Not even great. Doesn't have to blow my mind. Just good.
I will say this, regardless of what you thought about the last DC game, not, the last DC game that came out, Gotham Knights, they are running laps around Marvel in that space too, and in the animated space. We don't talk about that.
I don't
but
I don't know if that's true anymore because the last DC game was Gotham Knights, and the last Marvel game was Midnight Suns, which was significantly better. And then before that was Guardians of the Galaxy, which was significantly better. And before that,
I'm just thinking all the way back.
Morales.
I'm just thinking back all the way to
Yeah, I mean back in like the early 2000s.
for the number of Batman games and things that they put out.
Like up until recently.
They had let me
they had the
rephrase
best
it.
Batman.
Let me
is what
rephrase it. They had a really good head start. So
No one likes the Gotham Knights TV show, Alex. I don't even know what that is. That's not a real
when the guy
show.
came on screen and he was like, F Batman, I was like, okay.
Well, that was Titans, which was a
that's
different thing.
Oh, yeah, never mind.
Which is also canceled.
I lied.
They canceled all those shows too. We don't care though. I mean, I guess we care a little bit, but
What's
I
next?
don't care.
We're rambling.
Yeah. So, talk a little bit about some PlayStation statistics real quick. So, PlayStation has officially said that the PS5 is out in the wild. You will find it. It is in good supply. They've officially sold 32 million units so far, which is a lot farther and better on track than they were anticipating. So they've raised their expectations to 19 million for the next quarter, or for the next year to fiscal year. We also know that God of War Ragnarok sold about 19 million units, which is pretty significant. Put that into perspective. From November to now, God of War Ragnarok sold 19 million units. In 7 years, Street Fighter V has sold 7 million units.
Huh.
That's the difference here. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, and just tangentially related to that, and all the, remember in 2020 when everybody was trying to follow all these almost scam accounts, but like bot accounts that like would repost when the next drop was. Turns out I still follow a lot of those accounts, and they were all posting today, get your God of War PS5 bundle because there's more units.
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there. So good news, you can go find a PS5. It's tax season, so your tax returns are coming in soon. Hopefully before that debt ceiling gets any closer to us. We don't talk about that stuff here, but it's looming. So get your
inflation hasn't hit the PlayStation yet.
Get your taxes in. It's a bear market on PlayStations, but that's good. So we heard a little bit about that. We heard a little bit about the fact that The Last of Us viewership has been doing phenomenal, and with good reason. It is a very, very well made, well done show. I have cried multiple times. I know you have as well.
Ooh, brother.
And on top of that, it's led to increase in sales on part one. So people people talking crap about the price point last year, they knew.
Well, they brought it down for a second.
It's 40% off, I think, is what it is. You get 40% off of if you sign up with HBO, or if you buy it with HBO Max.
Yeah,
Soon to be just called Max.
I'm telling you right now, taking the HBO bit out of all of that.
Super dumb.
Very stupid.
Why is there an MGM Plus?
We didn't talk about
That would be a forever long rant. But Amazon owns MGM. There doesn't need to be an MGM Plus. Just put it on Amazon Prime. Amazon, what are you doing?
Something I read today was that The Last of Us had, it was one of 4 shows on HBO that had now, for the first time in HBO's history, they've had 4 shows that have averaged like 15 million viewers.
Yeah.
And it is that, Game of Thrones, it was Last of Us, Game of Thrones, I think House of the Dragon, and what is the...
Sopranos?
No, what is the show where all the teenagers... Euphoria.
Euphoria.
All the teenagers do drugs.
That's the name of that show.
The teenagers do ketamine. That's the name of that show. Anyway,
So it's like the first time in the history that they do it. So people, regardless of review bombing and everything else,
Ketamine girls.
have really responded to the show. Are we talking about it in full now? Or do we have?
Yeah. Let's talk about it. We'll go episode by episode and kind of talk about our feelings.
Did we talk about episode 1 or did we talk
didn't
about
get a
our
chance
thoughts?
to.
Okay.
Because you and I were talking about the last time we talked about the reviewers.
Right.
And then I got sick, so we missed a week.
Yeah.
And then other stuff. So, episode 1, dude, for people like us who have played the game, knowing what's coming doesn't change anything about how hard it hits.
Yeah.
But the delivery in the way that they did it this time, that opening, that cold open on the interview with the scientist, immediately setting out the way that this infection is different, and then immediately setting real world stakes for how we
Shout
can
out to
get
that
there.
guy. I hadn't seen him since The Mummy.
Yeah, dude, for real. And terrifying presence there
Yeah.
for some reason.
I don't know if you've seen Chernobyl. Watch Chernobyl. It's on HBO. So the showrunner for this did Chernobyl, which is by any account like the first or like the second or third, maybe first best miniseries of the last decade.
Yeah.
So it's incredible. Go watch it. But that was very Chernobyl-esque of just having these cold opens and just going.
And they work so well, dude. They really do. Like that opening on that first episode immediately set me on edge. And his delivery of just like, man, look, we're all real dead if this happens, guys.
Yeah, but it would never happen, right?
And
Right?
go to commercial.
Yeah.
It's like,
No, it was very good. And they said that they were going to take liberties and things like that, and they wanted to. If you listen to the companion podcast, which if you're watching this and you've seen the last, they did it with Chernobyl, and they're doing it again here.
we'll put the link in the description.
Yeah, so it's a full like hour-long podcast after each episode, hosted by Troy Baker, who was the original Joel.
Shout out to Troy.
And Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin joined him to talk about their thoughts on why they did what in the episode.
Yeah.
And basically they had said that like they wanted to do an entire, like the game, like the newsreel footage of it, and they did that, they filmed that, and Druckmann just said it was like boring.
Yeah, it didn't hit as when you're a kid, when you're playing as Sarah and that happens,
Yeah.
you see the reporter and then there's an explosion that you can see through the window and stuff. That kind of stuff hits better.
Yeah, and in the title, they talk about all that stuff. I'll just say, like, the first episode, because we're going to be talking about this for, a long time now, but, like, the first episode, when you said you knew what was going to happen, and we all did, and a lot of people that didn't play the game actually have watched the show now, which is because it's HBO's.
It's my favorite thing.
Yeah,
is that this story is getting more out there.
They knew that it was so good that they placed it historically. The best show on TV is HBO's Sunday night slot. Historically, go back and look
out that way again.
Go back and look at all the shows that have aired in that
also,
spot.
this is the biggest premiere on HBO ever.
Yeah, which is crazy. And so,
Beating out Game of Thrones, which is insane. Both, including its sequel
House of the
series,
Dragon,
which is
yeah.
insane.
So even though we knew it was going to happen, I think seeing it with real people, not to say like that it doesn't hit hard in the game, because
It does.
You're playing the game, and all of a sudden it's like, oh God, I haven't seen that in a game ever,
Yeah.
And
the first time that happened in the game, oh my God.
yeah, I was up at 4 a.m, and I was like, I think it was 18 or 19 years old, and I was like, I was not prepared to emotionally feel things.
Yeah, me and Christian were playing it, and we were just like, he was like, we're almost to the part, and I was like, what part? And he's like, just keep going. And then it happened. I was like, that's how the game starts?
Yeah. No, so I think just seeing that with real people without that disconnect of this is motion capture or whatever.
You can get that nuance a lot
Yeah,
better.
and I think Pedro Pascal did an incredible job of like changing things and doing stuff. And not for nothing, Nico Parker as Sarah was.
She did great.
I think she's better than the.
Yeah, I mean that
not
other
for nothing, she was
little
better
girl
than the-
barely got any time.
Yeah,
to be
so she
part
got
of
to
the
expand
game.
her character, and I think it was really good.
Like that section of the game is maybe 25 minutes, 30 minutes tops.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it was an incredible start. I think people that weren't prepared for it got to experience that shock, and like that's exactly
That
how.
hurt.
Yeah, I think that's if you're making a series, I think that is the one that drags you in. First episode, good.
Second episode was
I liked the second episode more because I thought that was what we were gonna kind of hopefully get more with the show was the zombie, the zombiness of all of it.
Yeah, well, what's cool about, and this is kind of what separates it from like The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
The horror of seeing the clickers and all that, like that's all happening basically through a pane of glass that you're having to walk between. But all the drama and pain and stuff is happening on the side of glass that you're on, and it's happening with the people. And so it's not like there's a little bit of this because this happens with every zombie game or franchise or whatever. But it's not like constantly like we were the real infection here. Like it's the problems that are persistent throughout the world aren't necessarily always that thing that's lingering in the back of your head that's haunting you and hunting you down. It's this like, how are we gonna survive?
How are we gonna sneak around these things actually?
Yeah, you're not. There's not gonna be massive gunfights in most of the scenes because why would you risk firing a weapon in an area with things that can insta kill you if they hear you? It's and I do get why they cut down on the stealth walking. Joel's in his 50s, Tessa's in her 50s.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense for them to be knee-high walking or crouch walking the whole time. Though it would have been really funny if
people have made very funny parodies of it.
Yeah.
It's like where Ellie is sitting there and like, shouldn't we run? And Joel is walking around like this and just, shut up! I'm gonna grab stuff. No, but I think I thought it was really well filmed, and it was actually filmed by Neil Druckmann, his first ever thing that he's done.
Yeah, I think this is going to put his name big in Hollywood also.
So it was about an hour and 15-minute episode, and you got a lot of Tess. I think a lot more than maybe you even got in the game that really expanded her character.
You really felt their relationship.
Yeah, and
in the first episode and the second episode.
And so they really expanded on that and kind of put them in a precarious situation. It ended, they changed the ending of how it actually, spoiler alert if you haven't seen this stuff, but like they said, they were gonna change things, and I think people were not upset about her ending, but it's just like,
I liked their explanation for it.
Yeah, it was a really different sort of way than what happened in the game, and I think they, again, in the podcast and stuff, they explained it, but I really, the changes that they are making so far are
subtle for the most part.
Except for the next episode. I think the changes that they are making so far, the way that they have explained them as just works way better for TV, and I think the people that are watching it expecting well, why didn't they do this? This was in the game. The game is so cinematic. Why wouldn't they do? When you're adapting stuff for television, some things just don't work.
Yeah.
That you would have done in the game.
Interesting gameplay doesn't make interesting TV.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you have to go and they've talked about this. You have to go and do something in a game. You have to constantly be moving forward.
Well, it's like we talk about in the next episode.
Yeah, you have to constantly be moving forward. You have to constantly be getting the player to go do something. Otherwise, it's it's not worth playing the game.
If you cut out the gameplay sections and just stitch together the chapters,
nothing really.
A lot of that worked. A lot of that doesn't work without the gameplay in between to exacerbate and heighten the stakes of things. When you're taking on a certain number of things or whatever, you have to get to a certain point where there's a big boss. There's something to challenge you. There's gameplay to push you forward.
And this is why I think adapting it for TV, adapting video games for TV is probably going to be the way to go, especially because they spend so much more. They spend so much more money now on TV than they ever have. That I think putting it on TV and allowing yourself to explore those ideas and giving yourself time to explore those ideas is why it'll work. Because if this was a movie, you kind of just cut out the third episode in general, really, or it compresses and you don't get those moments that I think video game players actually enjoy. That we've spent a lot of time with these characters, and anyway, we're rambling, but just another thing about the second episode. The clickers and all this, unbelievable.
Yeah. Great.
Unreal.
Exactly what I thought they were going to look like, but still terrifying.
Look, sound, and move. They got people that I think were the original motion capture artists to play the clickers, and they move and sound
scary.
exactly like that. And the makeup effects artist, I think he also worked on Chernobyl, but he has worked on several other things recently. The Green Knight was a big one, but but he's like one of the best makeup artists in the game, and I think has been nominated for several awards. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his name, but they got him, and it looks
so terrible.
because there's a world where it would be bad.
Yeah.
It would be bad.
That noise, that clicker noise, still sets me on edge.
Yeah.
All right, let's quickly go over the third episode. Nothing happened in that one, so
No, nothing. Don't worry about it.
it's
It's the lowest rated on IMDb.
Yeah.
Why would it? Why would it be?
you watch it? Yeah.
Why would you watch
I can't
it?
imagine why they would.
Can't imagine why they would do it. Okay, so the third episode of this show is the first real true departure that I think that we get from the
Yes,
game.
it's a serious departure in that instead of going to a curmudgeon-y, stilted old man who's a prepper and is like an awful human being for the most part, watching him having destroyed most of his life post-apocalypse, and then having to venture into a school and fight a big bad guy because, again, you need a boss fight. We get to spend time with a man who is still a curmudgeon-y old man, still a prepper. But this time he gets to have a little bit of happiness in that world. People don't like the fact that they took the part that they... In 2013, dude, I can't imagine how much easier or harder it was to get gay representation into a mainstream game like The Last of Us. And to see that flipped on its head to where now that can be a focal point of representation. And then people give the reaction that they were afraid of in 2013, and now they just don't care that they're going to give that reaction. I love it. Bill's gay, y'all.
He was in the game.
He was always gay. He's just a little more like out there in the open gay. And dude, it's Up. It's zombie Up with gay men.
They gave it. They gave us gay apocalyptic Up, and it was
so sad and heartwarming and heartbreaking, but also uplifting. And the message that comes out of it is so much better for
than what you get in the game.
Story to move forward and Joel to grow than it is for. And I like that they changed the interaction there too, because Joel's conversation with Ellie about Tess at the end of the episode.
It's the same one.
It's the same from the game, but it's prompted by that letter, not by anything else.
So there's some give and take with this episode. Obviously, I think it was like one of the. I have called it one of the best episodes, and a lot of people have one of the best episodes of television in the last decade.
Yeah,
and
it's concise
and
it's beautiful.
Murray Bartlett and Nick Offerman give probably award-winning performances as Bill and Frank, and they expand on the, without giving away too much, they expand out the narrative structure between Bill and Frank, and then the story that went mostly untold in the game.
It was a story that would have been told in the background because you only found out about it through.
Yeah, you only found out about it through letters and subtle, in not so subtle gameplay towards the very end. But I think instead of so just a light spoiler, instead of making it a kind of sad and at times mean-spirited storyline, they make it's still sad, but in a happy way. It's a very melancholy story, and they make it to where these men now live a fulfilled life.
Yeah, they get to exist and live a happy life. And I saw someone put a tweet out something that really just kind of recontextualized it a little bit for me. At the time of the events of the outbreak in the show, 2003. Gay marriage
Wasn't nationally legal, federally
wasn't
legal.
even stay legal there.
Yeah.
In 2005, it was brought up, and then in 2007, it was made legal, and then later on, made
Federally legal.
Federally, but they never got to that. They never got to experience that. So this would have been like impossible for them in normal life. The apocalypse kind of saved their ability to live their life normally and fulfilling, or living a fulfilled life. And so it stole as much away from them as it gave to them.
Yeah, and I heard somebody say it a little bit better that they've been begging like The Walking Dead or other things of this ilk to do something where it's like maybe things got better for some people in the apocalypse.
Dude, it's nice to know that someone got to live a happy life somewhere.
And I think that's why people reacted so strongly to it, because it was such a fascinatingly uplifting but yet heartbreaking story. And not for nothing, like the old people get me every time.
Yeah, dude.
Old people, it just gets me every time.
Old people loving each other.
Old love gets me every time.
Come on, it's gonna make you cry, my guy.
Now
Every
there
time.
are people review bombing it on IMDb, which is an inherently broken.
Throw user reviews into the sun.
It's an inherently broken website, but it's going to get nominated for awards. It's going to win a ton of awards. Craig Mazin.
Season 2 is already happening.
Yeah, so Craig Mazin did something that I think a lot of other people wouldn't have taken the chance to do.
No, and that's what I love about this series so far. Is they're really taking
He's
legitimate artistic chances on making better on a story that is already considered to be one of the best stories out there.
And Neil Druckmann said as much. He's like, I didn't want to adapt something just for the sake of adapting it unless it was better. And he said, this was better. We have to do this.
Where were you on Uncharted?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
What happened?
How little he had to do with that is kind of
Neil Druckmann, call me. I want to talk about Uncharted.
exactly. But so go watch it. I think it's worth watching, if not for just the story alone. And I think the people complaining is like, well, I didn't get the 13-year-old interacting with the old curmudgeon-y man, and we didn't get.
She didn't get to ask him for a gun. She's already done that 3 times.
She didn't get to hit him with a lead pipe, and it's just
man.
come on, man. Like,
What they
live a little.
wanted is there wasn't 4 hours of them sneak walking through houses and killing a bunch of zombies and then him blowing
I
up
didn't
a
get
bunch
the
of people.
bloater that I wanted. It's
Yeah.
like, it's coming later.
Dude,
just shut up.
And it's going to be different because they can't even use the spores.
Yeah, the thing that I took away from it more than anything else is the people that were complaining about it, and now I'm complaining about the people that complain about it. Well, it's like it just didn't advance the story, and that's just false because they get to the exact same place.
They in less time.
Yeah, they get to.
You're wrong.
They get to the exact same place as they did in the game.
You're not just wrong. You're stupid.
And bad. And so I think people complaining about it are hiding a very, very thin skin and it's very thinly veiled homophobia.
Yeah.
Too. So it was like, but I didn't care that they were gay in the game. It's like, but you saw it depicted here. But you clearly did.
You clearly did, and I guarantee you, it seems like 2 bearded men kissing, which we could make happen. I'll cut that. I'm sorry. That was a stupid thing to say.
Jesus.
But I guarantee you, it was the 2 men, bearded men kissing that set off a bunch of these dudes who are scared of seeing that kind of intimacy.
I don't like it when 2 grown men passionately love each other. And you're like, really?
Yeah. So why are you looking at me like that?
Exactly. No, I just think it was brilliant TV, brilliant acting, and
I'm excited to see the rest of the series. That being said, we've gone long. One last little thing. Unfortunately, if you haven't already, you should go claim all your PS Plus collection stuff because the PS Plus collection is going away on May 12th. So make sure you go and grab all those. They didn't really specify why, but it won't affect the amount of games on any of the other PlayStation Plus stuff. But if you haven't done it, you still have time to add them. So go do that. You should also, while you're at that, go on and head over here and subscribe. And leave a like on this video and a comment because that helps drive traction here. And if you want to help us grow, that's the best way to do it. Share with your friends, like and subscribe.
Rest in peace to Annie Wershing. Speaking of The Last of Us, Neil Druckmann tweeted and her
Heartbreaking
family
news,
put out that
the woman that played Tess in the original game, The Last of Us, has tragically passed away from undiagnosed cancer that she
at
was
45,
diagnosed.
right?
Yeah, she was very young.
Very
leaves
young.
behind a couple
So
of kids. So rest in peace to her. You will
We'll put
live
her
forever.
GoFundMe stuff down in the description. If it's still active, you guys can go contribute there to help out.
You will live forever in that game, and so that's something to be said. And I think a lot of people respond to that in kind. So rest in peace to her, and sorry to her family. So that is an interesting way to end this, but
That's how we're going to do it.
that's how we're going to do it.
Join us next time for more stuff. We'll talk about the next episode or two on the next episode of Uplink. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment. If you missed out on previous episodes, you can find the full playlist down there below. Keep an eye out for reviews coming up from us. Go check out my Forspoken written review and the video I promise is coming. I'm doing my best, guys. But until next time, I've been Andrew. That's Royden. This is Uplink. See ya.
Bye. It's hot in here, man.
It is super hot in here.